Let me be direct with you right now. You are being systematically deceived by every major car manufacturer on the planet. And the scariest part? The evidence is hiding in plain sight inside your own garage. Today, we are going deeper than any surface-level breakdown video dares to go. We're talking engineering failures that should never happen, financial traps disguised as innovation, and a corporate strategy so calculated it borders on criminal. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will permanently change how you look at every new vehicle on a dealership lot. The Mazda CX-90 disaster nobody is fully explaining. Everyone has seen the viral post. Owner buys a 2025 Mazda CX-90 plug-in hybrid. 2 days in, charging failure. Month 4, fluid leak. Month 5, complete transmission death on a vehicle with fewer than 10,000 miles on the odometer. But here's what nobody is telling you about why this is happening. The CX-90 PHEV uses Mazda's eSkyActiv PHEV system paired with a 2.5-liter inline-4 and a front-mounted electric motor integrated directly into the 8-speed automatic transmission housing. This architecture was rushed to market to compete with the RAV4 Prime. The problem? Mazda has virtually zero legacy experience with plug-in hybrid transmission engineering at this scale. The sealing compounds used on the transmission fluid passages are thermally incompatible with the heat cycles generated during combined combustion and electric operation. Translation: the car literally cooks its own transmission from the inside. This isn't a random defect. This is a fundamental engineering miscalculation, and Mazda knew about thermal stress reports from their Japanese domestic market rollout before the US launch. And corporate's response? Radio silence followed by a PR template apology in comment sections. Meanwhile, the replacement transmission sits on backorder for 5 months minimum because Mazda's supply chain cannot keep pace with the failure rate they themselves created. Drop a comment below right now. Have you or anyone you know owned a CX-90? Tell me what happened. This community is more valuable than any dealership service bulletin. The engine graveyard data point that should shock you. Here's something that went viral but was massively underanalyzed. The footage of a service center storing rows upon rows of seized engines stacked 3 high in a warehouse, branded Hyundai and Kia. What that video doesn't tell you is the specific engineering failure behind it. Hyundai's Theta 2 GDI and Theta 2 MPI engines found in millions of Sonatas, Santa Fe's, Optimas, and Sportages from 2011 through 2022 have a manufacturing defect in the connecting rod bearing oil supply channel. During the machining process, metal debris was not fully cleared from the lubrication passages. Over time, those particles circulate through the engine oil, score the bearings, and catastrophic seizure follows, often without any warning light. No knocking, no smoke, just a dead engine at highway speed. Hyundai and Kia paid over $210 million in a class action settlement. The NHTSA opened multiple investigations, and yet the replacement engines coming out of the same supply chain have shown the same failure pattern in verified owner reports. Now look at the Nissan Rogue blowing its motor at 20,000 miles. The 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder VC-Turbo engine Nissan has been deploying since 2021 has a known issue with variable compression ratio actuator seizure. When the actuator sticks, the engine defaults to its highest compression ratio under load, and if the cooling system has any marginal inefficiency, you get detonation events that destroy the pistons from the inside. at 20,000 miles on a crossover marketed to families. And Chevrolet? The 5.3-liter L82 and L84 V8 engines in new Silverados and Tahoes are experiencing active fuel management lifter failures at rates that should be generating federal investigations. The AFM system deactivates 4 cylinders at highway speed to improve fuel economy, a theoretically smart idea. But the lifter design cannot maintain adequate oil pressure during rapid reactivation cycles, and the result is catastrophic camshaft and lifter destruction. GM knew about this since at least 2014. They quietly updated the system to dynamic fuel management in 2019, which actually made the cycling more frequent. The failure rates went up, not down. If this is the kind of deep analysis you've been looking for, not just surface outrage, but real engineering context, subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. Every week, we go places the mainstream auto channels are too sponsored to touch. The luxury illusion, what you're actually paying for. A $180,000 Cadillac Escalade on a flatbed. Let that image sit with you for a moment. Here is what Cadillac does not put in their brochure. The Escalade shares its full-size SUV platform, GM's T11X body-on-frame architecture, with the Chevrolet Suburban, Tahoe, and GMC Yukon. Same frame rails, same 6.2-liter L87 V8 or 3-liter LM2 Duramax diesel. Same AFM/DFM lifter failure vulnerability. The only meaningful difference between a $58,000 Tahoe and a $180,000 Escalade is interior trim, badge engineering, and a magnetic ride control suspension tune. You are paying $122,000 in premium for leather, a larger infotainment screen, and a Cadillac crest on the grille, wrapped around the exact same mechanical system that is failing in working-class household Suburbans across the country. One commenter documented it perfectly. 2021 Tahoe with catastrophic engine failure at 68,000 miles. Traded it in. Bought a 2024 Escalade because surely the flagship would be better. Escalade failed 14 months later. 2 vehicles, both from the same platform, both dead before 80,000 miles. And here's the math nobody does. That owner likely lost between $35,000 and $50,000 in combined depreciation across those 2 transactions. That is enough money to have bought a 2005 Land Cruiser with 150,000 miles that statistically would still be running in 2035 with basic maintenance. The subscription trap, the most dangerous shift in automotive history. This is the section I need you to pay the closest attention to, because this is not about quality. This is about ownership, and whether you will ever truly own a vehicle again. Toyota is now charging monthly recurring fees for features that already exist inside the hardware you purchased. Navigation, $15 to $25 per month. Remote start, subscription. Drive Connect Cloud Services, subscription. Safety Connect Emergency Services, subscription after trial. Let's be precise about what this means technically. The GPS antenna is physically installed in your car. The navigation software is already loaded onto the head unit. The remote start transceiver is already wired into your ignition system. Toyota is not providing you an ongoing service that costs them money per month. They are selling you a software key, a digital unlock token that costs them effectively $0 per customer after initial setup. And when you stop paying, that hardware goes dark. the screen, the buttons, the antenna, all still there, all still inert because a server-side license check failed. BMW tested heated seat subscription in South Korea and several European markets in 2022. They reversed course after public backlash, but the infrastructure to implement it is still inside every BMW built on the G-Series platform from 2018 onward. Those heating elements respond to a software flag. Mercedes-Benz has launched a rear-wheel steering unlock subscription in multiple markets. $489 per year for a mechanical system already physically installed in the vehicle. General Motors' OnStar ecosystem is the original subscription model, now branching into remote access features that used to be standard. This is not a future scenario. This is active policy right now across manufacturers you trust. And here is the financial exposure nobody is calculating. If you finance a vehicle over 72 months, which is now the most common loan term in America, and that vehicle requires $50 to $100 per month in feature subscriptions to function as advertised at point of sale, your true cost of ownership increases by $3,600 to $7,200 over the loan period. That is money you are spending on features you already physically own, being rented back to you by the company that built them. What do you think about this? Comment below. Would you still buy a vehicle knowing the features could be paywalled after purchase? I genuinely want to know where this community stands. The interface regression nobody is measuring correctly. BMW's iDrive 9 system, deployed across the current 5 Series, X5, X7, and XM, replaced physical drive mode selection with a touchscreen navigation path. To change from efficient mode to sport mode, the current workflow requires one physical button press to wake the menu, a touchscreen swipe to locate the mode selection tile, a tap to open it, a scroll through options, including the genuinely inexplicable digital art mode, which overlays generative visual animations on the instrument cluster, and a final confirmation tap. That is 4 to 5 discrete driver interactions to accomplish what a dedicated physical button achieved in one step. A 2023 study from the Swedish Transport Research Institute (VTI) measured cognitive distraction time for common in-car tasks across modern touchscreen interfaces versus physical controls. Adjusting climate via touchscreen, 23 seconds average. Adjusting volume via touchscreen, 10 seconds. Changing drive modes, 17 to 22 seconds depending on system. Physical button equivalents, 2 to 4 seconds each. At 70 miles per hour, 17 seconds of degraded attention means your vehicle travels the length of 5 football fields while your eyes and cognitive focus are not fully on the road. This is not aesthetic preference. This is a measurable safety regression that manufacturers are implementing to reduce production costs. Fewer physical switches, fewer assembly steps, while marketing it as technological advancement. The price detachment from reality. A 2025 Ford F-150 XL, two-wheel drive, regular cab, no leather, no screens beyond basic requirements, starts at $39,345 MSRP. Inflation adjusted from 2010 pricing, that truck should cost approximately $31,000. You were paying a $8,300 premium above inflation for a vehicle with more failure-prone turbocharged engines, more complex electronics, and more software dependency than the truck it replaced. A Jeep Grand Cherokee, a brand that Consumer Reports has ranked in the bottom quartile for reliability for 11 consecutive years, now starts at $41,395 and climbs to $70,000 in upper trims. A GMC Yukon Denali will hand you a $100,000 invoice for a platform-sharing cousin of a Tahoe with documented AFM lifter issues. A Range Rover autobiography will take $150,000 from your bank account and, based on J.D. Power 2024 Vehicle Dependability Study data, deliver a vehicle with one of the highest reported problems per 100 vehicles ratios in the entire industry at 192 pp100 against an industry average of 121. That Range Rover owner who had their 2025 autobiography stop functioning 4 times in under 1 year while driving on the highway is not an outlier. Range Rover's reliability reputation is not speculation, it is empirically documented. And yet, the waiting lists remain. Because the product is beautiful, and humans respond to beauty more powerfully than to actuarial data. The real business model. Explained with precision. This is not conspiracy theory. This is documented corporate strategy with a formal name: Total Lifetime Customer Value Optimization. The calculus is straightforward. A vehicle that lasts 300,000 miles with minimal intervention generates 1 sale, 1 loan, and residual parts revenue. A vehicle engineered to begin failing predictably between 80,000 and 120,000 miles, conveniently after the 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, generates a 2nd sale, a 2nd loan, subscription revenue during ownership, and dealer service revenue during the failure period. The owner rarely walks away from a brand they already chose. They absorb the depreciation, roll the negative equity forward, and sign again. Add subscription-gated features generating $50 to $150 per month in recurring revenue per vehicle. Add proprietary diagnostic systems that lock out independent mechanics, a process enabled by carve-outs in right-to-repair legislation that automakers lobbied for specifically, forcing service at dealer-level labor rates averaging $180 to $220 per hour. Add adaptive LED headlight assemblies that cost $200 in manufacturing and retail at $2,200 because they are integrated with ADAS sensor arrays that require dealer-level calibration after replacement. Every layer of complexity is a revenue layer, and you are funding all of it. The golden age of the automobile, when engineers designed for longevity, when buyers were respected as owners rather than lifetime revenue streams, when a truck was a tool and a luxury car was a reward. That era is over. But you are not powerless. You vote with every purchase. You have access to more reliability data, more owner community knowledge, and more independent engineering analysis than any car buyer in history. Use it. Share this with someone who is about to walk into a dealership. Drop your own experience below, because the stories in this comment section are as valuable as any Consumer Reports data set. And if you are not subscribed yet, do it now, because we're just getting started. Next week, we go inside the right-to-repair battle that could change everything about who actually controls the car you paid for. See you there.